Right, let's talk about something truly riveting, shall we? No, not the mating habits of dung beetles, but something almost as thrilling: international trade. Specifically, the United States has decided to play economic whack-a-mole with tariffs, and guess who's popped up as the latest target? That bastion of fiscal responsibility and delightful public transportation, Singapore. Now you might be thinking, Singapore? Isn't that like a really small country? And you'd be right, geographically speaking, it's basically a thimble on the map. But don't let the size fool you. Singapore is an economic powerhouse, a global trading hub that punches well above its weight class, which is precisely why these new tariffs are about as sensible as a chocolate fire guard. Over the next few minutes, we'll be unpacking this trade tiff, examining the potential fallout, and asking the really important questions like, is this the beginning of a global trade war? And will anyone notice if I sneak out the back and grab a plate of those delicious-looking chicken sauté skewers? Don't answer that last one, it's rhetorical. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the World Trade Organization, or WTO. This organization, established in 1995, is the backbone of international trade regulations. It's the place where countries negotiate trade agreements and settle disputes. Think of it as the United Nations of trade, but with a lot more paperwork and a lot less glamour. Now I know what you're thinking. The WTO? What's the big deal? Sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry on a Tuesday. And let's be honest, trade regulations aren't exactly the stuff of thrilling novels or blockbuster movies. And you know what? You're not wrong. It's not the most riveting topic at first glance. It's a bureaucratic behemoth, full of tedious negotiations and mind-numbing acronyms. Imagine a room full of people arguing over the fine print of a contract for hours on end. That's a typical day at the WTO. But here's the thing, as boring as it might seem, the WTO is kind of important. It's the glue that holds the global trading system together. Think of it as the referee of global trade, trying to keep things vaguely fair and preventing the whole system from descending into a chaotic free-for-all. Without it, we'd have trade wars left and right. One of the key rules the WTO enforces is the most favored nation principle, or MFN. This principle is fundamental to ensuring that trade is conducted on a level playing field. It's a terrible name. Sounds like something you'd find on a particularly exclusive nightclub flyer, but it's actually a pretty simple concept. It's about fairness and equality in trade. Basically, it means that if you're a WTO member, you have to treat all other members equally when it comes to trade. No one gets special treatment. No special favors, no backroom deals, everyone gets the same deal. It's like a rule book for fair play in the global market. It's like the international trade equivalent of your mom telling you to share your toys, except instead of toys, it's billions of dollars worth of goods and services. And instead of siblings, it's entire countries. Now, the US slapping tariffs on Singapore, well, that throws a rather large wrench into the whole MFN concept. It's like one kid deciding they don't have to share because they're bigger and stronger. It's essentially saying, yeah, those rules, we're not really feeling them right now. And that's a big problem. And that, my friends, is a problem. Because when one country starts ignoring the rules, it encourages others to do the same. Because when a country as powerful as the United States starts cherry-picking which rules it wants to follow, it sets a dangerous precedent. It's like opening Pandora's box. It's like a bull in a china shop, except the bull is wearing a stars and stripes bandana, and the china shop is the entire global trading system. The damage can be extensive and far-reaching. Smaller economies like Singapore, they rely on the WTO to ensure a level playing field. They depend on the rules to protect their interests. They don't have the same economic clout as the US to negotiate favorable trade deals on their own. They need the WTO to act as a mediator and enforcer. So when the rules-based system starts to crumble, guess who gets hurt the most? It's the smaller, more vulnerable economies. It's like being picked last for dodgeball. Except instead of getting hit with a rubber ball, you get hit with crippling tariffs and economic uncertainty. The stakes are much higher, and that's not exactly a recipe for global stability, is it? When the big players start bending the rules, the whole system risks falling apart, leading to economic instability and uncertainty for everyone involved. Now, to be fair to Singapore, they've taken the high road so far. They've managed to maintain a level of decorum and restraint that's quite commendable in the face of escalating tensions. No retaliatory tariffs, no angry tweets, just a lot of deeply concerned statements from government officials. They've been measured and diplomatic, focusing on dialogue rather than confrontation. which, let's be honest, is about as exciting as watching a documentary on the history of beige paint. But sometimes boring is good. It means things are stable, predictable, and under control. But just because Singapore's playing it cool doesn't mean everyone else will. The global stage is filled with actors who might not be as patient or restrained. Other major economies like China and the EU, they might not be so quick to turn the other cheek. They have their own interests to protect and might respond more aggressively, and that's where things could get really messy, really fast. The interconnected nature of our global economy means that a trade war can have far-reaching consequences. Remember that whole trade war thing I mentioned earlier? It's not just a theoretical scenario, it's a very real possibility that could disrupt markets worldwide. Yeah, well, that's not just some abstract economic theory, it's actually happened before. History has shown us the devastating effects of protectionist policies, and spoiler alert, it wasn't pretty. The repercussions were felt across the globe, leading to widespread economic hardship. Back in the 1930s, in the midst of the Great Depression, the U.S. decided to implement something called the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. It was a well-intentioned but ultimately disastrous move. It was basically a massive tariff hike on thousands of imported goods, and it was supposed to protect American jobs and boost the economy. Instead, it led to a severe contraction in international trade. Instead, it had the opposite effect. The global economy suffered, and the intended benefits never materialized. Other countries retaliated with tariffs of their own, global trade plummeted, and the Great Depression, well, it became the Great Depression era. The economic downturn deepened, affecting millions. It was an economic disaster of epic proportions, kind of like that time I tried to make my own sourdough starter. Except, with far more serious consequences. And here's the thing, the global economy is far more interconnected today than it was back then. The stakes are even higher now. We live in a world of complex supply chains where a smartphone, for example, might have components sourced from a dozen different countries before it ends up in your pocket. Disruptions in one part of the chain can have ripple effects worldwide. So when one country starts throwing up tariff barriers, it's like pulling on a loose thread in a giant, intricately woven tapestry. The consequences can be unpredictable and far-reaching. The whole thing could unravel, and we'd all be left holding a very expensive, very useless pile of yarn. The cost of such disruptions could be enormous, affecting businesses and consumers alike. Now, even if we manage to avoid a full-blown trade war, and let's be honest, at this point I wouldn't bet on it, these tariffs are already having a real impact. Business confidence is down, investments are being delayed, and the markets are about as stable as a newborn giraffe on roller skates. The uncertainty is palpable. And it's not just the big corporations feeling the heat. But it's not just about the economic fallout. It's about the message it sends. The ripple effects are being felt across the globe from small businesses to international conglomerates. This whole America First approach to trade, it's creating a climate of distrust and uncertainty. Allies are questioning their partnerships and adversaries are emboldened. It's like playing a game of Monopoly, except one player has decided to rewrite the rules in their favor and replace all the hotels with tiny plastic flags that say, "Make America Great Again." It's a strategy that might win a few battles but risks losing the war. And look, I get it, international trade is complicated, it's not always pretty and there are winners and losers, but the stakes are higher than just profit margins. When we start viewing trade as a zero-sum game, where one country's gain is another country's loss, we all lose in the long run. The interconnectedness of our economies means that isolationist policies can backfire spectacularly. It's like that old saying, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And in today's global economy, no one can afford to be left out. And right now, a lot of countries are feeling like they're being served up as the main course in a grand buffet of American protectionism. The resentment is growing, and it's not just economic. And let's not forget the geopolitical implications here. The US and China, the world's two largest economies, are already locked in a tense trade dispute. These tariffs on Singapore, they just add fuel to the fire, increasing the risk of a conflict that could have far-reaching consequences. The stakes are higher than ever. It's like watching two porcupines trying to mate during an earthquake. It's messy, it's dangerous, and frankly, you'd rather just look away. But ignoring it won't make it go away. But we can't afford to look away because what happens next will shape the global order for years to come. The decisions made today will echo through the corridors of time, influencing generations. So, there you have it. The US tariffs on Singapore might seem like a blip on the radar, but they're a symptom of a much larger problem. The rules-based global trading system, the one that's brought unprecedented prosperity and stability to the world, is under threat. Singapore and other smaller economies, they're caught in the crossfire. They're facing a perfect storm of economic headwinds and geopolitical uncertainty. It's not going to be easy, but they'll need to weather the storm and adapt to this new, more volatile world order. And for the rest of us, well, we need to pay attention. We need to understand the stakes, and we need to demand better from our leaders, because the future of global trade, and indeed the future of the global economy, hangs in the balance. And frankly, I'm not sure I trust those in charge to make the right decisions. But hey, at least we'll always have chicken satay, right?
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.